Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to another semester. Precalculus, all in the right place. Map 146, section 050. For credits, we meet during the full 14-week semester. Meetings will run from September 3rd to December 11th, with the final exam being scheduled for December 16th. So you need intermediate algebra or equivalent skills as a prereq. Unless I'm told otherwise, we will meet in this room, ET 207, every Monday and Wednesday, 10 a.m. to 11:50 a.m. So my name is James Walker, standard school email address. However, the best way to get in touch with me is through Microsoft Teams. Just send me a message. You should have received the message already, the general announcement. That will be the chat that I use to send out announcements, like if I have to cancel class for any reason. Recommend that you download the app for your phone and have it set up to immediately alert you when you get a new message. Whenever you contact me, make sure that you include the course and section. I do try to respond to messages within 2 business days, Monday through Thursday. I typically check 9 to 5. If you don't hear back from me in that time frame, just message me again. And I either forgot to respond or your original message got lost. And also, if you are going to email me, do so only from your school account. I tend not to open external messages. I earned a Bachelor's of Science in Physics with a minor in Astronomy and a Bachelor's of Arts in Mathematics in 2013 from Rowan University. I earned my Master's of Arts in Mathematics in 2015, also from Rowan. Right after that, I started professional. However, before that, I had served as both paid and volunteer tutor, and this is going way back to when I was at high school, back in the Stone Age. I am interested in the many applications of math, obviously specifically in physics and astronomy, but also more recently in economics, accounting, and finance. I do currently teach at 3 schools. Rowan is my main job. I have a total of 6 classes so far this semester. I may actually have to reset this. Let me check. Yeah, for some reason this. It's my favorite number, 1 plus root 5 over 2. Brownie points if you recognize that number. It's highly doubtful. You don't really study until Calc 2. It's the golden ratio. Most commonly occurs when you take the limit of the subsequent Fibonacci numbers. Major brownie points if you recognize this equation. Those are the Einstein field equations. 16 of them. That comes from general relativity. Unless you're a physics major, you won't ever have to worry about that. Even as a physics major, not until you take GR, which usually isn't until grad. And as a fair warning for everyone, because we will be getting to it in this course, I love trig. It's probably my favorite topic in pre-calc. I am also looking at programs to continue my education. Right now I'm between a PhD in applied math or an MSA, MSF dual credit or dual degree program. Just have to wait one more year for my wife to finish. Student hours, I don't have an office, so all appointments will be virtual. You click the link, brings you here. Generally speaking, I have appointments available Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. I do, however, require 24-hour notice, which is why today is blanked out. Select the day, select the time. Have to fill out some general information, hit submit. You should receive an email confirmation of the submission. I will then set up a link for the appointment and then email that link out to you. Or if it's on Teams, I might just message it to you, but you'll get it. I'm using OpenStack's Precalculus 2nd edition. It is a free online book. I'll show you the website and stuff when I go through the syllabus. Office 365, which you do have access to. You have a free account through the school. I will be using WebAssign this semester. That's the course code. Fortunately, they do require you to purchase a license, a key. However, they assure me through OpenStax that it's not expensive. They say it's only between $26 and $40, depending on the textbook, which I've already determined is a lie because my Calc 3 was $42.95. My Calc 1 was $30. It's verified by students. I don't have access to it because I'm an instructor. They don't show me prices, which is weird, but they have it. You will need a calculator. You are not allowed to use any calculator with symbolic manipulation. Only a standard graphing calculator, so TI-83, 84, 86. I use the TI-Inspire CX2 CAS, which you're not allowed to use, but they have a CX2 non-CAS version that I would recommend you use. That is currently the best TI-Inspire model out there for graphing. For the virtual appointments, microphone and webcam are going to be required. You'll need access to Blackboard. And obviously, Microsoft Teams is recommended because that's going to be the main form of communication. Attendance, as per college policy, it's expected at every meeting, and you're expected to stay throughout the entire duration. You are expected to arrive on time. Repeat, stay through the entire meeting. I am required to record attendance and submit it to the college. So for that purpose, at every meeting, there'll be a QR code up on the door. When you come in, you're expected to scan it, fill out the form for arriving, and then when you leave, scan it again and fill it out for leaving. In terms of reporting to the college, as long as you scan it once, you will be marked as here for financial aid purposes. I use both in case they decide to ask me, how long do they typically stay? There is a 10-minute grace period before you'll be considered late. So as long as you arrive before the end of the 10-minute grace period, you will get full marks. Right, so you have to arrive before the end of the grace period and stay throughout the entire meeting to get full credit. Half credit, you just have to be here for at least half the meeting. While this does not directly impact your grade, I don't have a category for attendance in the grade. A positive attendance record, I do tend to bump up borderline grades. So if you're right there borderline, B+, A-, and you have a really good attendance record, you're going to get an A-. If you don't, you stick with the B+. The web assigned assignments collectively will be worth 10%. Quizzes will be worth 20%. There will be discussion and journal assignments that will be worth 5%. 2 exams worth 40, and then a comprehensive final that I'm required to give worth 25. I hate comprehensive exams. The exams are broken up into about 5-week periods, so at the end of every 5th week will be an exam. First 2 exams are non-comprehensive. Right, so the first exam will just cover the first 5 weeks, second exam the second 5 weeks. And unfortunately, I have to make the 3rd exam the entire semester. Otherwise, I just make it the last 5 weeks. And then the standard Mercer grade breakdown. And so for more detailed information, read through the syllabus. I'm going to go through some of the important topics. So if you click this link, it'll take you to the website for the book. Three ways to access it. You can view it right online. You can download a PDF copy. Or if you're old school, like I am, again, Stone Age, before computers were a thing, you want a hard copy. You can also buy a hard copy. 2 versions, the black and white and a color version. So the color version is $60 from their website. This is actually a new publisher. They used to do it through Amazon as recently as this past spring. They were using Amazon. Now it's Kendall and Hunt. So again, the hard copy is not mandatory. And there's instructions on how to download the Office 365 apps for you. Blackboard is where almost everything's going to be. Electronic copy of the syllabus is up there, and it will be kept up to date. Course materials will be posted there, handouts, notes, videos, things along those lines. Just about every assignment is going to be submitted electronically on Blackboard. And course grades, I tend to keep them pretty up to date. So you should always know where you stand. And come the day of the final, it should be no surprise what your grade is. Oh, I already see an update around to me. Why did that not delete? Not to worry about Mathematica. So to access website, 2 ways to get registered. The first way is to go to webassign.net and just enter the course code that was on the slides. Second way is just to click that link from the syllabus. It'll directly take you to registration for the course. You just have to enter a class key and then enter that class key. As I write the homeworks, they will become available immediately, so you can work ahead. There is one restriction. You must complete the diagnostic first. It doesn't matter what you get on it. The diagnostic is not going to count as your grade. It's just testing your prereq knowledge. So if you can't get at least a 70 on it, I do recommend you see me. While you're not going to be required to drop the course, still might be a good idea to talk to me. And you'll see for each homework there are 2 assignments. The prep is not required, doesn't count towards your grade. The prep assignments just give you walkthrough tutorial problems to do. So it walks you through how to do different types of problems. This would be a good idea to look at if you're stuck on a certain problem. The only ones that are actually going to count for your grades are the ones that are just homework. So what is precalculus? In a sense, it is a continuation of algebra, but now the focus is on functions, not just expressions. So ultimately, precalc is just the study of functions and all the different types of functions there are. And so we start with some basic definitions for functions, what a function is, what does it mean when we say domain of a function, range of a function, graphing functions, inverses. Then we begin to study the different types of functions we have, starting with polynomial and rational functions, then exponential and logarithmic, trigonometric and inverse trigonometric, and we end with analytic trigonometry. Look at several identities for trig functions, solving trig equations. things along those lines, simplifying tree expressions. Late submissions, not accepted. There probably won't be a lot of assignments turned in class, so you won't have to worry about that part. You just have to make sure you get it uploaded electronically by the deadline. If you are going to be absent on the day of an exam, it is imperative that you email me before the exam. I do have solutions to exams that are scheduled to post right after the exam ends. If they post, you can't take that exam. So again, you need for the exam so I can delay the posting of solutions. I may or may not offer extra credit throughout the semester. That is solely at my discretion, so do not ask. I went through attendance. Cell phones, the exception of recording attendance, I ask that cell phones be put on silent and put away. Expected to be civil during class to each other. Avoid distractions and just avoid generally being a nuisance. Let's go away. Go away. Thank you. I do record all the class meetings. I record them in two ways. So there's a camera right here. I will record the screen. I also do screen capture in case something goes wrong with the camcorder. In fact, that's actually how I share the screen as well. I use OBS to record the screen, and I use it to share the screen. It's generally easier that way. I do try to make the recordings available shortly after class, generally by the next day. However, it does tend to take a while to render videos. But I will have them up by that weekend. I also reserve the right at the end of the semester to make those recordings public. Either on my YouTube channel or my Rumble channel, because YouTube is ridiculous with the ads now. If you're struggling, you need to seek immediate assistance, either through tutoring or during my office hours. I don't know why I have dropped them by. AI. Personally confirmed that ChatGPT can do math. Also confirmed that it's not that good at it. So we're now at the stage where I have to include an AI statement. While AI can be used to support your learning, such as helping you to generate an idea, it cannot be used to actually do the assignment for you. Having it do the assignment for you will be considered a violation of academic integrity and will be treated as such. If you're unsure on whether you can use AI to do a particular thing, just reach out to me and ask, and I'll let you know. For the web assignments, for each problem, you'll have 5 attempts. The problem, there is no penalty for multiple attempts being used. After the 5th attempt, however, it will be marked wrong. I mentioned the exams, 2 non-comprehensive, and then a comprehensive final. I plan for 4 quizzes, approximately every 4 weeks. They were done completely on Blackboard. Quizzes, again, non-comprehensive, so just cover that 4-week period. Right, and they may be a combination of multiple choice, fill in the blank, open-ended. And then there may be several discussions or journals. Right, so discussions going to require an initial post and then a response. I'll either find an interesting topic, create a prompt for you to respond to, and discuss it amongst the classmates. Could also be a video, an interesting YouTube video that I find about mathematics. Journals, more likely than not, just going to be some article that you read and then reflect and react on. First discussion and first journal already up there. I believe the first discussion is your experience with mathematics so far. And the first journal, the article, is about handwriting and its connection to brain activity and retention. Through that, and then there are, of course, these college policies and resources that you should read through. At the very end, there is a schedule. That'll break down what we're going to be doing each meeting. First exam, October 7th. Keep in mind, everything contained within the syllabus is an object of my whim. I can, for any reason, change anything, with or without notice. I could just wake up one day because the Phillies got eliminated and decide to give me an exam. It's just a disclosure. I do tend to give notice. Like I said, I do tend to update the syllabus and post it on Blackboard. I haven't actually looked at Blackboard yet, so let's do that. Yeah, so the new Blackboard Ultra doesn't go live until the spring semester. One of my schools is already using it. I do not like it. They're trying to mimic Canvas, and I do not like Canvas. So this will be our last semester with the old, superior Blackboard layout. Right, syllabus, already loaded there. Oh yeah, I did also do the course calendar. I have all the meetings scheduled. I don't know if it alerts you or not. Let's actually make this student preview. And so you can see what, so I can see what you can see. Right, I already have 2 links as well, textbook link and link to WebAssign. And then each week there will be a folder which kind of breaks down what we're going to be doing along with the videos and assignments. This is where I'll be posting the slides and the recordings as well within that week's folder. Again, I'm not sure if you get an email update when things are added. I do. And so for tutoring, I know that Mercer has a tutoring center. It is in the student center. Is it still by the testing center? Or did they move it? All right, so it's still all there. Good. At least they don't move things on me. I think it's drop-in, isn't it? You might be able to schedule an appointment online. For pre-calc, I'm fairly certain they have tutors available. Maybe even for Calc 1, but I think beyond that is iffy. I taught linear algebra here one time and there was no one to tutor it. Which is a shame because that's one of the hardest subjects you take. Are there any questions?
On the exams, like relatively, like how many questions will be about?
It'll be 100 points. So it depends on the random number generator and the number of easy versus difficult questions. Obviously, the harder questions tend to be worth more points. So it could be nice and just give you a bunch of easies, in which case you're probably going to be 50 questions at 2 points each if they're all easies. Might get unlucky and get all hard, which will probably be 10 at 10 points. Might have a 15-pointer in there or something. So it all depends. I will say, if you can keep up with the lecture, you know what's going on with homework, you're probably going to be fine on the exams. Anything else? Close this door now. I bet they didn't unlock it either. No, of course not. You're supposed to. Some closing remarks. Mathematics is a participation sport. The best way to learn it is to actually participate in it, be active, not just watch me do it. Because I've been doing it for 3 decades. So I clearly know what I'm doing. Being active does include, dare I say, the dreaded 5-letter P word in mathematics. Reading and understanding proofs. Read through the proofs in the book. Try to follow along with the logic. It may take you several read-throughs before you actually comprehend what they're doing and what's being said. But once you understand the proof, it gives you a deeper understanding of what we're doing. rather than just doing plug and chug. Don't study in bed. Don't study in your pajamas. It's mental. Try and make yourself uncomfortable. Like you're sitting in an office for 8 hours. Now they do say, I've heard studies, if you play background music really low, it helps with retention. I don't know. They also say the best time to study is an hour or two before you go to bed. Because then you're sleeping on what you just studied, and you tend to retain it better. Again, I don't know. I was that student who never studied. Do not wait until the last minute to start something. And yes, I am well aware that this will probably fall on deaf ears. Once you fall behind, it is near impossible to catch up. At least here, it's a 15-week. I taught a 5-week, and you fall behind in a 5-week, it is impossible. Now, remember, what we're doing in 15 weeks here, you were doing an entire school year in high school. And if you plan on moving on to grad school, what we're doing here in 15 weeks will probably only take 1 week in grad school. I've already mentioned it, but if you're struggling, make sure you seek immediate help. You don't want to wait too long. Do not ask me at the end of the term if there's any way to boost your grade. The answer is no. You want to avoid that situation by following the previous advice. And we'll also say, this is good advice in general. Well, yes, I do understand. You have to remember, at the end of the day, just a grade. It's not the end of the world. It's not worth your health. So don't stress yourself out to the point where you're pulling out your hair or throwing stuff against the wall. I had someone throw a book at their significant other. A friend of mine did that. Out of frustration. Don't do that. One rule I expect you all to follow. Have fun. Math is fun. Yes, it is. This kind of math may not be, because this isn't math. True math is fun. Any questions before we move on?
Like for the quizzes, would they make a review for them, like what we expect the problems will be, or no? Okay.
However, they are open to you, as are my exams. But I generally don't do reviews.
So everything's open note.
I'm not a fan of memorization. It's my job to prepare you for your future careers. Your boss isn't going to say, do this project in 2 weeks and oh, you can't use any resources. They're going to say, get it done. Use anything at your disposal to do it. Anything else? Let's do this for the next 10 minutes or so. Take some time, introduce yourselves to your classmates, exchange contact information. Generally speaking, classmates should be your first point of contact. Right? Discussing math with peers is a really good way to learn it versus discussing it with me, who's been doing it for, again, 2 or 3 decades. And especially with this new Common Core crap they teach in high school that I have no experience with whatsoever other than it sucks. It's not the way I learned it. So you might have a different insight than I do. So the next 10 minutes are for you, and then we're going to start by just reviewing some of the prereq stuff. We'll actually start new material on Monday. So take these 10 minutes for yourselves.
Yeah.
I had a barber just cut my hair. It was like all bored. That's the only one. She was like 34. And like realistically, that's not old. I think like old. Yeah.
You know you're old when
That's a different thing. Yeah, no.
you know you're old when you wake up and you creep.
Your body's just making all those noise. You get that?
I am there. I've been there for 5 years.
Oh, 5 years.
Yeah. If I wake up and I can do something, having a good day. Okay. Get back into class mode. Look at the prereqs. Like I said, the rest of today, we're just going to kind of go over the prereqs. These are going to come right from the diagnostic on WebAssign. We'll start new stuff on Monday. Factor completely. So this is, I want to say Algebra 2 probably. Maybe Algebra 1. I didn't recognize that form. It's a sum of cubes special formula. That's how factors. So now with that, for x cubed plus 125, what is a? What is B? 5. There's the factor. Completely factored. Recognize this form. This is most certainly algebra 1. Oh, that's not good. It's been a long summer. It was a hot summer. From algebra 1, difference of squares. You're thinking of Pythagorean theorem.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry, we're going to be getting there. That's the special product. What is A? You're asking me or you telling me?
It's 9x squared.
What's B?
Plus 4.
Is that completely factored? Why not?
The left side, you can do more.
How?
3x plus 2. I don't know, 2 of those.
Isn't 9x squared minus 4 a difference of squares? which can still be factored. Now, technically speaking, oh, it's not going to let me select it. I'm sure let me do that. Oh, well. This term here technically can be factored. That is technically a difference of squares. So the question is, do they want that or do they want to keep it as real? I'm going to assume we're keeping everything as real valued functions. Calculus is real valued functions, not complex. Plane. In which case that is now completely factored. By the way, this leads to a new special product formula. The difference of quatrics. Quatric is just fourth power. So that's an identity that might be useful later. Now, let's see if they're on the same page and just do real valued. Yes, they do just want the real valued. Simplify that expression. Laws of exponents. I'm also going to use PEMDAS. So first, parentheses. 125 is 5 cubed, and 512 is not divisible by 5, so 512 over 125 cannot be simplified. That's a bummer. we're going to have 512 in the numerator.
So you bring the a to the negative 5 up, to make a to the 9.
But I'm not doing it by bringing it up. You can, but then you have a to the 4th times a to the 5th, and how does that give you a to the? What's the rule? So how'd you get a to the 9? You multiply same base, you add the exponents. What's the rule when you divide the same base? That's what I'm going to do, which ultimately gives you the same thing. 4 minus negative 5 is 9. B to the minus 4 over b cubed. Right, so b to the minus 7, which says you put b to the 7th in the denominator. So I'm done in the numerator. Denominator, we have 125. B to the 7th, and that whole thing is being raised to the 2/3 power. If you have an expression raised to a power, each term gets raised to that power. And by term, I mean it's attached by multiplication or division. If you have 2 terms that are being added together, that would be considered one full term. Right? A plus B would be 1 term. You just multiply exponents at this point. That looks like a 9, not an A. Fractional exponents. That appears pretty nicely. Good. What does x to the m over n mean? This is very important. Nth root of x to the m, or the nth root of x all raised to the m, right? They mean the same thing. (512 to the 2/3 power). is the cube root of 512 squared. What is 512 squared? Screw that. So I'm going to look at the other way. What is the cube root of 512?
25,144. I don't know.
Well, it's definitely not the cube root.
I just cubed it. I mean squared.
Squared might be,
You
yeah,
have to square it
25,000
and then
something.
take the cube of that.
Yeah, then you have to take the cube root of 25,000. That's too much work.
Yeah.
So what's the cube root of 512? Because that's easier. What is it? Cube root of 512? Not 22.6. It's 8. Easy way to look at it. What's 10 cubed?
1,000.
Is 512 less than 1,000?
Yeah.
So the cube root of 512 has to be less than 10. And 5 cubed is 125, so it has to be greater than 5. So that really narrows it down. Now, what's 8 squared?
64.
So now what is the cube root of 512 squared? 64. And we generally just leave that as, oh wait, actually 18 over 3 can be simplified. What's 18 over 3?
6.
So that's 8 to the 6th. Cube root of 125.
25.
So generally we'll just leave it like that. Especially since they said give your answer using exponents. Oh, this one's nice. Name the property. even multiple choice, which is nice for you.
Dissociative property of multiplication.
Say that one.
Yeah.
So I did actually hear during a 10-minute conversation something about stat. So now I'm going to ask a statistics question. What's the probability that that's the correct answer?
20%, 1 5.
That is not how probabilities work, which is why I love this question. Here's how probability works. The 20%, here's how it actually works. You have a 1 in 5 chance of randomly selecting the correct answer. You've already selected an answer, so now I'm asking what's the probability that that is the correct answer? Either 0 or 100.
Yeah.
Right, it's either right or wrong. And I hate to say that that probability is 0. Because that is not associative.
Is it the distributive property of multiplication over addition?
So you say that. Now there's only 3 left. The order in which you multiply does not matter. Associative is grouping. How you group your multiplication doesn't matter. Distributive would be 10 plus 15 would be the distributive property. Sweet. Solving an inequality. In this case, solving a rational inequality. But it doesn't matter. Whenever you solve an inequality, the process is the same. First thing you need to do is find your breakpoints. Now, this is where the process will differ depending on what the expression looks like. For a rational expression, breakpoints where the expression is equal to 0 and where the expression is undefined. A rational expression is equal to 0 when when is a fraction equal to 0? Yeah. That's the other part. That's when it would be undefined. When the numerator is 0. 0 divided by any number is 0. That means x is 0. Fraction is undefined when the denominator is 0. You're not allowed to divide by 0. Dividing by 0 causes the universe to blow up, which is very bad for us. If x squared minus 1 is 0, what is x?
1.
Is there another value? Negative 1. Three breakpoints. In ascending order, negative 1, 0, and positive 1. We now set up our test intervals, which is take all real numbers and split it at the breakpoints. So negative infinity, our first breakpoint, our smallest breakpoint, negative 1. Now we continue from negative 1. Our next breakpoint. Then we pick back up at 0. Our next breakpoint. Pick back up at 1. And there are no other breakpoints. So then I'll just go out to infinity. Those are our test intervals. From each test interval, pick a value, which is called the test value. It can be any number in the interval. Negative 5 for the first one. That works. Plug it back into the expression. Negative 5 over negative 5 squared minus 1. I don't care about the actual value. Is that positive or negative? Neither. It's going to be one of them. It's negative. What's negative 5 squared?
25.
25 minus 1 is positive. Negative divided by positive is negative.
25 minus 1 is 24.
Right, that's positive.
25 divided by 24.
Where's the 25 divided by 24?
No, I was plugging it into the original function.
Yeah, so where are you getting 25 from in the numerator?
Oh, it's just x.
It's just
not
x.
x squared.
Yeah. So it's negative
Yeah, my bad.
5 divided by 24, which is a negative value. And that's why I asked where you got it from, because that's a very common mistake. Not that you don't know what you're doing, it's
like
you read it wrong. Happens a lot on tests. Look at the second test interval. Negative 1 to 0. Pick a test value. We're not going to have much of a choice. It's going to have to be a fraction. Negative 1/2. Negative 1/2 squared, is that larger or smaller than 1? So you take a number smaller than 1 and subtract 1 from it. What's the result? Positive or negative? Negative. Denominator is negative. Numerator is also negative. What's negative divided by a negative? So the expression is positive over that interval. Now look at 0 to 1. Pick a test value. I'll just use 1/2. Because negative 1/2 squared and 1/2 squared is the same, isn't it? So the numerator, or the denominator is still negative. But now what's the numerator? What's positive divided by a negative? Now pick a test value from 1 to 0. Again, use 5. You're going to get a positive divided by a positive, which is positive. Look at the inequality. What's the inequality? Just the symbol. Greater than. So you want the positive intervals. Are the breakpoints included?
No.
No, because it's not greater than or equal to. If it was or equal to, you would include the breakpoints. So there's the solutions of inequality. Process for every inequality is always the same. Find your breakpoints, set up your intervals, test each interval, then use the inequality to determine what intervals you want and whether the breakpoints are included.
I forget, when do you use the U instead of like a comma?
So U represents a union.
Yeah, but I forget when you use.
So if you're doing sets, in this case, interval's a set. You'd only use a comma if you're listing out values. So if there's like, I mean, you theoretically can list out all of the values instead of using interval notation. Have fun, because there's an infinite number of them. Right, but if there's a finite number, you would just list it out as a set, and that's when you use the commas. Right, keep in mind that these commas here represent for interval, right? So it's from -1 to 0. Oh, I should type it out. Okay. This is interesting. Working with complex numbers. And they are called complex numbers, not imaginary numbers. So remember, a complex number is any number of the form a plus bi, where a and b are real numbers. And I squared is defined to be -1. So we call I the imaginary number. Now when you're in the complex plane, you're allowed to take square roots of negatives. Right? Square root of a negative number is now complex. And there is a reason why we don't call them imaginary anymore. Has anyone heard of quantum mechanics? It's the physics of the particles. 95% of your solutions in quantum mechanics are complex. How can it be imaginary if it's describing the real world? So sadly, a working knowledge of the complex system is necessary if you want to describe the real world. Now, another bit of trivia. If you're just dealing with numbers, how many basic operations do you have? What are they?
Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division.
You were lied to. There's only two. Addition and multiplication. Subtraction is defined as addition of the inverse. Division is defined as multiplication of the reciprocal. So in math, we only define two operations, addition and multiplication. There is no division for complex numbers. So you can't really divide complex numbers. You can multiply them, and you can add and subtract them. But you cannot divide them. So when we look at quote-unquote division for complex numbers, what we really mean is simplify it to remove the imaginary number I out of the denominator. You never write i's in the denominator. So you could think of it as rationalizing. So by the way, because of the only two operations, that's why in PEMDAS, you do multiplication and division together from left to right, and then you do addition and subtraction together from left to right, the order in which they appear. Not multiplication first and then division. So we're going to rationalize this. There are two things in mathematics you're always allowed to do. You may always add a zero, right? Because adding zero doesn't change the value. And you can always multiply by 1. Because again, multiplying by 1 doesn't change the value. I'm going to multiply by 1. But here's how I'm going to write it. Eight minus 6i over 8 minus 6i, that's 1. It's a number divided by itself. That is known as the complex conjugate of 8 plus 6i. Now we just multiply straight across. Treat I like a variable x. How would you multiply 5 minus 4x and 8 minus 6x? What is it? The dreaded 4-letter F word. in mathematics. FOIL. Firsts, outer, inner, last. But now look at the denominator. Isn't the denominator written as a difference of squares? So it's just going to be the first term squared minus the second term squared. Wait a minute. What's I squared? Negative 1. Replace I squared with negative 1 and simplify. 40 minus 24. Negative 30 minus 32.
Negative 60.
There's your numerator simplified. $64 minus negative 36.
100.
100. Well, there's a common factor of 2 in the numerator. Two over 100, 1 over 50, right? Oops. 3 I. I would leave it like that. However, I do not know if WebAssign will accept that form. So let's find out. I probably should have read, they are not going to accept that form. Because they want it in the form of A plus BI. So they're going to want 8 over 50, which can be simplified, minus 31 over 50I. What's 8 over 50 simplified to?
4 over 25.
4 over 25. That is the form they want. But I can tell you, we never do that. We would always just leave it in that form. And any kind of applied mathematics, it would just be left like that. Just like as you're going to learn the rule of not allowed to have square roots in the denominator is a lie. You can, and we will keep them in the denominator. You're gonna find out you were lied to so many times. Well, that didn't delete it, okay. And now it's correct. Good so far. And typically, here's how I end classes. Probably if that actually worked. Oh, I have shut off. I try to end each class with giving a list of assignments that are coming due. So again, you should never be surprised.
All of these on Blackboard?
All of them are on Blackboard. And so if you just open up the week 1 module, there's links to each one. Now, I am only required to meet for 100 minutes twice a week, so that's an hour and 40 minutes. So I typically will not run all the way to 11:50. I'll run to 11:40. They build in 10-minute breaks. But I like just to get it over with and leave early. And just like that, you already have a weekend. So we don't meet again until Monday. Have a great weekend.